Hey everybody, Brian here from quantlabs.net. Okay, so a couple of big developments for those that are following along. There's quite a few of you now. I appreciate the business. Anyways, couple of big announcements I had to make regarding this system I'm working on using the Karen Supertrader strategy. Couple of things. First, I've already mentioned this before. Originally, I was going to use Postgres as my backend database of choice. But I'm doing everything what I'm about to show you on Ubuntu Linux, and to be honest, Postgres is much a better database, but in terms of usability, ease of use, and being more productive with the MySQL and the MySQL workbench, I was able to get stuff done a lot faster. So I moved over to MySQL. There's no MySQL in this video, but I am still using Redis, which is very impressive as an open source NoSQL database. Okay, the next major announcement is over the last couple of weeks I've been playing around with C, and I love C a lot. The problem with C is that it's very low level, and a lot of the maturity behind standard functions in math are really behind the times. There are maybe some decent libraries out there, but it's a real mess to work with. So I've decided to drop that C++, and do what I wanted to do in Java. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is in Java. And the other thing is Simulink code generation code. When I started pulling everything together, everything looked great. But when I started realizing that the code generation, or the code that is generated from Simulink is unbelievably very low level, and it is a nightmare to work with in terms of maintenance. So if I was to make future changes to models, it would get very hairy, and it was just not, to be honest, not worth going down that path. So what I've done is I'm using Java, as I said, I'm hand coding the models. So what I'm about to show you is probably the farthest I've come along, and the difference between this and Java and C. I'll give you an example of time spent. I'm pretty accomplished in both, I would think. I probably know both the same. C, not C++, but C, I was spending 7 to 8 hours to generate all the math libraries, hand coding it, and I got nowhere. And I was just banging my head against the wall. In fact, I had to go out and buy a new bottle of Advil or Tylenol. But then I said, screw this. I'm going to use Java. And what I'm about to show you took me no more than, maximum 4 hours to write. And the other big thing I'm sold on Java now is the fact that all the tools, or all the vendors that I'm going with in terms of interactive brokers and Eclipse in Linux, which can be done, just watch the presentation we had about a week ago, everything's in Java. There is C++, but there's Visual C++ on Windows. If you know me by now, I'm trying to get out of using Windows. It's just an operating system that I just don't feel comfortable with. I see it lag, all kinds of things. So I'm not a very happy camper with the future of Windows, especially with the latest of Windows 10. So that's what brought me to Linux. I will say on my Linux experience, I'm liking it. It's come a long ways over the last 3 years, and with the interactive brokers, it's good. And I'm pretty happy with it. So enough blabbing, let's get to this. So right now I'm using Eclipse, the IDE, Integrated Development Environment. It's fairly easy, and let's get to this. All right, so there's two projects I have. This one I've shown before, and basically it is, I'm not going to go through the source code, but what it will do is it will grab the latest data from the TWS, the interactive brokers. This has to run in order for this program to work in Java. Just grabs the latest data, and I'll take the latest tick and then just push it into a Redis server instance that's also running. Okay, one thing about Redis I'm running right now in the background, this is it. And you can see it's in standalone mode. It's using the port 6379. That's the default. I'm just using everything default localhost. Okay, so when you see the code, that's what I'm using. All right, so that's basically what this program does. Is this real-time data which is essentially this. This is working right now. Basically, it's just pushing in data, grabbing the latest from TWS, which is here. Now, I've shown enough on TWS. Hopefully you got that by now, how to configure it, making sure the API settings are correct, enabling ActiveX and socket clients and all that. So I'm not going to do that. But this is connected, working fine. It's Friday night, so you're not going to see a lot of activity, but this does work, okay? So let me show you the other program in Eclipse as well. So this is the one I'm using. This is now the Karen Supertrader model, strategy, whatever you want to call it. It includes all the math that I was trying to do in C, but I got it here in Java. It seems to work okay. I was able to bang it out pretty fast. So you can see it's running right now. And the cool thing is it will grab the latest prices and do some stuff, let's say. Okay, so let me just relaunch this. Okay, so let's just run that. Okay, so it's running right now. It's going to have triggers. 1361 is the latest price. 1605 is the latest price, as you can see here. So it seems to be working okay, where the data is getting pushed now. It's at 136, 136. So the data is working fine. So let me just stop this. Now, let me just roll back here in the log. So right here, you'll see this is the current price. This is the upper bound on the Bollinger, which obviously is not working, the fib. So I still got some coding still to do, but there is some triggers I did see. Well, it doesn't matter, I'll show you anyways. So let me just show you the main code here. Let me just maximize this. Alright, so it's all in one class. So basically we have a class. We have here a linked list of prices. They're doubles. I do a summary, or a summation, I guess. Another list for temporary reasons I'll show you in a bit. I've got two bands here for the Fibonacci. This P25 and P618 are supposedly Fibonacci metrics that are used. I've got a video that I've identified that does this, so that's where I'm basing that off of. Also with the Bollinger, I have public here, upper bound and lower bound. So as I said, this has got to get fixed, which is no matter. So let me go to the main method here. So I've got a little bit of inheritance going on within the same class. So essentially what we're doing here is we're in the main, we get our first instance of the get Redis, and then we put that rest into a for loop. So it'll go out, grab the latest info from Redis. This is what it does. Okay, right here. So connect into Redis using, as I said, localhost, the default port. It'll go out and grab the 10 latest rows within Redis using ERU. That's what I'm pushing in as EUR, Euro, whatever. This is just for demonstration purposes. Once it retrieves the latest, it puts it into a list, into our linked list here, which is a string. Remember that. That's a string being retrieved from Redis. Everything stored in Redis is strings. I've confirmed that, and it still makes it fast. And once we're done with all that, retrieving from Redis, we close the connection to Redis. So we're just using an L range, which is a list, and that's how I'm maintaining stuff. So I could have whatever symbol I want, Apple, whatever, and just call it, give me the latest info from Apple, and push on the other end to push all that data for Apple into the Redis. So I can filter everything out using a list, using the Euro, whatever I want. All right, so we know that. So if there's any problems with Redis, we just bum out and just throw an exception and return. So we have a return false or return true condition on that. Great. All right, so let's go back into our main loop here. So we get our latest info. So what we do now is we're going to process both the process list and then start processing our indicators. In this case, I know what the problem is with my Fibonacci, or sorry, my Bollinger. I'm only running the Fibonacci. That's okay. So let me just show you the process prices list. So essentially what we're doing is, now remember from Redis, this list is a string, okay? So we gotta iterate or cycle through that price list of strings, okay? So what we do now is we have to take the list, each row, and split them up, parse them up, which is delimited by a comma, as you can see here. So we got tick price 101 and then 1.1358. So that's what it's doing, is it's retrieving, parsing out. So here in this particular case, we do a double conversion to get the latest element in that row, okay, because it's a list. So it's going to get the second one, which is the price of what we want. So it's basically going to get this part right here, the 1.1316, okay? So if there's a problem, because don't ask me why, I'm running TWS in demo mode, which is a trader workstation, sometimes I see prices that are less than 0, or in fact, you don't want them if they're even 0. They're no use to our little rolling window. So if it is, just continue in the loop and keep getting them until we get something that's greater than 1. Simple stuff. If we do get something that's greater than 1, fine. We add that to our prices double linked list. Now, I'm not here to argue about linked lists are better or whatever container is better for Java. These are just a quick and dirty way of just showcasing this strategy. I'm sure there's more better containers out there, but I'm just doing a simple linked list, okay? So that's what we do. We just take the string representation, add it, we convert it into the double, and then we take that single one and we add it to our linked list of prices. We're also going to run a summation or a sum on that price. Okay, that's going to be used as part of, I believe it's a Fibonacci. The Bollinger uses that. All right, so we know that. So that's how we process our prices list. So back in our main loop, what we do here is once we've done the process prices list, then we run our Fibonacci. Okay, fine. So our Fibonacci comes in. This is easy peasy. Again, quick and dirty way of doing the math. Okay, so what I do is it will go in, retrieve the prices, and it's just going to get the index of the minimum and the maximum. As you can see here, min, max, both used. We also are going to do a little calculation. I can't remember where I got this formula from. I think it's from stockcharge.com or something like that. And it just takes the max minus the difference between the max and the min, multiplied by 0.25, which is a Fibonacci, and that's for the upper. And then the lower is our basically our same thing on the lower, but we're multiplying it by 0.618. Okay, now I can make it tighter by using other Fibonacci ranges, but this is what supposedly is used in the world of technical analysis. So again, don't kill me on it. Okay, so once we're back in our main loop, we just do everything all over again. We get the latest info of get Redis, and all we're doing is now we're going to compare the last, the very last row against our previous ranges of, in this case, the P25, the upper range of the Fibonacci band, as well as eventually, once I get this working, with the upper band of the Bollinger. This is how they do it in supposedly in the world of Karen Supertrader. Simple stuff it looks like, and that's for the entries. So if that's a case where the last price is greater than or equal to the upper bound, or greater than or equal to the upper bound of the Fibonacci, is what I believe, it's going to do it by trigger. Okay, so that's it. It's simple. Now, what happens in this by trigger? Well, in my system, how I'm going to architect it, I've talked about this before, is we have our Redis time series. That's what we're using Redis for, just purely time series, and we're using it for message queuing. That's what I just demoed. From here, in this trigger point, what we're going to do is we're going to put in all the order information for the entry with the current price, and we're going to mark it up on the asset, the time stamp, and all that stuff. And we put that into the positions table. I've shown that with a demo on what the positions table looks like using the MySQL. So we're going to insert a new row into that using the current last price, which is the entry price. Okay. Once we've done that, then we have another third process, which is again in Java, that's going to read the current market price, and what it's going to do is going to compare that on some kind of logic of using this particular strategy for Karen Supertrader. And if the current price is greater than the entry price, or something, there's a difference of some kind of metric, then we close the position. That metric being, supposedly from what I gather with the Karen Supertrader, is once you have your entry and then the stop loss, so in my case it'll be more of a logical stop loss. I could apply it on the order into interactive brokers, but that's still yet to be decided. But logically, I could set the soft target in the database saying if it's greater than, let's say, 15%, that stop loss, or the logical stop loss, exit. Okay, and that's it. That's all this whole system does. Again, there's some queries about, do we apply a real stop loss on the interactive broker side, or do we just keep it and just let the system logically track it through the database? Now, I've watched various videos in the last few days on either or. Some say don't apply stop loss at all in your trading because if you get a good run on your profit, or sorry, on your trade, why would you want a stop loss? Because obviously that's going to limit that position or the profit off that position. So I get that, but on the other hand, there's on the downside where that stop loss is used as insurance. So I'm thinking, I'm at the beginning, I might not even trade this live, but if I was to trade it live, I'd probably not apply a stop loss and just let the system logically run it. But there's a lot of risk there as well. If the system loses connection with a database or something loses track with the interactive brokers, a live TWS, because once you lose that connection, you're done for. But we're there, we're getting close. We've got triggers now being generated. But all this code, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two projects. There's actually two projects now in Eclipse, in Java. There's this one, the IB Redis, which is an executable jar file. I've shown you how to execute that. If you need to know, you can just go export Java. This is again in Eclipse, runnable jar. You might have to set up some configuration. My case is the project I want, real-time IB Redis. Yeah, that's the one. Give it a destination, browse, package required libraries, and do a generated generated jar, and just go next, finish, you're done. And you can run it right off the console. Now, that jar file can then also run on Mac or on Windows, no problem. That's a nice thing about Java. All right, so that's the first project I'll be able to put up on my my members section for all my Quant Elite guys and gals. And of course, I'll put this project in there, the Karen Java test, which I just went through this code walkthrough on. I'll put that up as well. And then, of course, I'm gonna, in order to keep everybody in sanity in check, I'm not going to put up different versions to confuse people. I'm going to have one posting, but multiple versions of a snapshot of each of these Eclipse projects, and have all one snapshot. So you can get this up and running, hopefully you can, if you know Java, Linux, all that, as well as be able to use this type of system as a role model for yourself to develop your own further models and use Java and Linux and all that, what I've got here. So you can do that for your own system, because eventually, once I get it to a point, it'll do everything. It'll capture live data, have all the interactive data connectivity, both with Redis, and eventually having some form of a MySQL database. In my case, I'm just going to have one table, positions table, and that will be able to be interfaced with interactive brokers as well. So everything's looking good. I'll have everything hopefully going into next Monday on, I don't know when it is, the third week of September 2015, get this up and running and finally get this past us so that we can start working on new cool things like hedging and future and analyzing in real time futures and options and all that, and currency eventually in the back end of that. All right, so looking good. I think we're past all the things that held me back with the C and whatever else, but this is a big accomplishment. And hopefully I'll talk. If you've got comments, let me know later.